at least at that, or we're not doing ourselves a service as a town for the coming years. So then that means, at that point, unless we want to go back and look at the other things, we are constrained to a certain amount of money between the debt bump, the security, and the technology. And you've got them right there. Right?
And whether, how close, Catherine, are we on the capital stabilization? I don't remember. I think we had a couple of years to go with 100,000 a year.
What do you mean, how close?
To get the goal.
Well, we had a
yeah,
target number in mind that grows every year
Right.
by several percent. So
you're saying if we reduce that 100 to 75, what percentage of that? Right, we're still
we're still improving
Right.
because
And are we improving greater than the percentage? Or we-
Yeah,
at
yeah,
At
we
least
have
staying
to-
above.
Right.
At least staying even.
so in FY19, we're at 428 for capital stabilization, 428,000. Total stabilization, 1.68.
yeah, I'm trying to remember what the capital.
How does that compare to our guideline we're trying to get?
That was at 6.96% for the total. In terms of, if you take the regular stabilization and the capital, it's
Yeah, but the capital we have separate.
we're at 1.77% on that.
And I think we wanted.
I don't know, I have a policy for it.
Oh, do you have it, Mike?
Oh, I think so.
I've got it too.
Okay.
I just don't remember that off the top of my head. Too many numbers.
Reserves policy guidelines, is that?
Yep,
Yep.
yep.
As of October 15th.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I've got them on, so.
All right, then we should go with that one, definitely. Okay, all right. So this is, yeah, this is not the rev check.
I'll take that number change as well. Let's just look at it.
All right, so it's free cash. 5%, okay.
We're trying to get to which one?
Capital, yeah. Okay.
3%. Prior year.
Of the prior year's
Tax
tax.
levy.
So 750 and we're at,
420 right now. 420.
428.
and we're headed for 750.
But
I mean,
What are we putting in a year on that? 25?
well, right now it's for 100.
Until we hit the mark.
the goal, our stated goal, or at least in this draft, was 5 years. To make our, within 5 years, which we need to.
Right.
And by that time, the rate at 4% per year of growth, 750 becomes
That's right.
another $120,000 or so.
That's right, on top of that.
180,000, so
Then you're there.
you're up to 830 at that point.
You might be able to do it in 4.
Right.
You know, 5 years is 400, I mean,
You can do it in 4 instead of 5.
yeah.
You can find you
At this current
26,000. We have 26,000, it has to be the exact amount, but I'll get rid of this. 26,847.02, there's 5 articles that can be closed out.
Either this year or next year.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
I
changing the catch, right?
yeah, I'd be inclined to close them out next year to help us balance.
Yeah, that's usually do.
Not a good idea that we move around odd amounts.
I mean, so why was led to this 900? It just the economy thing?
Yeah, I think going lower than that would just, personally, I mean,
Yeah.
But we know we have $26,000 that we could close
close
out.
out next year.
Yeah.
That is true,
So
so.
that brings that down to 925.
Yep. I'd be comfortable on 9, to be honest with you.
It'd be a lot easier to track 50 and 25.
Would be what? Nice, what?
I mean, you know, 17 and 18, that number was at 700 for the free cash, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, and let me get,
So 9's a good bump up from 700.
yeah.
it's down from last year.
Down from last year. But we're also applying some to reduce the debt,
Yeah.
right? And how much do we plan to reduce the levy limit last year?
472, 683.
And about 70,000
Yeah.
was the debt bump.
Yeah.
And
70,000.
Yeah, so by the way, the Collins Center does not like free cash to reduce the tax levy.
Yeah,
That's
well,
all.
Yeah, they said that before we
Yeah.
respect
and,
things.
and
Sure, I
we
know.
said, you know, at the level of percent or so, yeah.
Right, I was just,
Because it's either that or be more aggressive on things like local receipts.
Right.
And
yeah, well.
I'd rather do
get in trouble that way too. Well,
So you want to
we
put that
can
on?
get like 200,000 of
What?
technology
207, 254.
or I'd be inclined to speak round numbers myself.
200.
200,000.
Did you write the 207 in the right spot?
All right.
Yeah.
No, just, you draw a line down with it, it goes in the next line,
Down line.
down, it's for technology, not.
No, I know it's what's going,
security.
it's just the one.
All right. So you
Yeah, after you do 100.
Yeah.
then-
Just take that line, yeah,
So you want, okay, sorry.
It's,
So you want to take security, you want to take the,
no, hang on,
okay.
yeah. Yeah.
shoot,
Or make it
She's
too
using
much.
it, that's her ledger.
No, I
That's her-
understand.
I didn't get it, I didn't.
I got it.
I'm slower.
I got the laser beam shot of it. You know.
Well, with it.
Is that put a zero next to that
Thanks for what?
now? Yes. Take on the right hand side.
Yes, we're out of money.
That puts a zero, we're out
We're
of
out of
money.
money.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm not an accountant.
No,
So are we at now 207, 254?
Well, if you wanted to get,
Okay.
Precise.
Get that last computer in there.
or change your minimum free cash position to 907,254 or
Sure. Yeah.
some other arbitrary number. It used to be we had a very odd number to reduce the tax levy, but I see no problem with going with a nice even number.
Whatever, you know, either way.
Oh, well, we're
It's a
fair.
plug.
Never is. I mean, there have been times in the past where we've gone below what we would consider a reasonable minimum free cash amount when the economy tanked. We did,
or we talk, take into stabilization.
or we dip into stabilization, which just means we have to pay ourselves back.
Yep,
So you've got to have some expectation of
Yeah.
Revenue.
recovery.
Isn't paying.
there's probably some new growth coming next year, right, Catherine? Or Mike, Tool is allowed for some new growth to do with Rolling Green, but there's presumably some more.
There's 90,000 in the model, and then
This year.
typically there's another.
There may be
So
some
typically what
more.
happens when the real number comes in, it's 20,
Ooh,
20, 35. Well, that's what happened last year. It was, you
Yeah.
know, it was estimated.
Well,
this
yeah,
and-
because that's another one of those things, you
Yeah.
don't want to get it in the
Right.
wrong direction,
Yeah.
because then you're over the levy limit. You shot yourself in the foot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's allowed us to rightfully so budget with that flexibility is our attempts to continually try and when we get the money back the following year, try and use it appropriately, which is as much reducing tax, coming year's taxes and budget as it is just spending.
Okay, so what do you want? Reduce the tax bump 100,000? Less? More?
Why would you raise the balance?
Right, but that included something to take the top off,
Right.
the overlapping debt, the old debt
Right.
overlapping.
More in elementary school technology, you can sacrifice in reducing the debt burden. So technology comes with what, three trade-off?
Oh, the total was 390 plus 100
So
ongoing.
490.
Right.
So
And right now they're getting 207, right?
How
And
does
so
That is
Yeah.
490.
The first wave that they wanted to do was teachers, like basically a teacher situation would be laptop to desktop, and then the board in the classroom. To get that up to snuff, it's 290.
Which means you wouldn't be reducing it that much.
So we're
Or
83,000 short of that.
you know,
we're,
there's some turnbacks or
right.
something.
Right.
Or you don't do the security camera.
But
That's
then-
It sounds like you
a
want,
non-starter.
It sounds like you gotta do both.
do I get it?
So then you got, so that's 170,000.
And the other,
You're already
the other
covered.
schools have done in the correct thing.
You're already
You
covered
really don't
85
wanna
on
hit
STM.
one
What?
school over the other in Topsfield,
No, I know.
Well,
because then,
I heard that they waived the contracts, or the install work. You guys are saying you're gonna do both, or you can't.
you have to do both schools.
That's my understanding.
Okay, it's not that you can't do parts of each school, it's that you have to do both schools.
Correct. Technology is easy.
Well, we gotta vote
I
on
think
something.
All right, well,
I mean, the thing is, I mean, you could bring the free cash down more, we will talk about that a lot. You could have a smaller amount of reduction of the.
How much did we spend last year to reduce it that low?
last year, it was more, it was slow.
I know.
478,683 dollars.
478 we spent last year
But-
to reduce it.
No, no,
No,
no,
that's,
no,
that's
no,
reduced the
no,
tax
no.
rate altogether.
That was
Same
every-
effect.
That was everything, yeah.
So that's apples to 500,000 this year.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Right. So in order to make it the same number as last year, that's 30 grand difference?
Yeah. But
Right.
whatever you
Guys are
took the
moving
edge
fast.
off last year, it's still there to take
Yeah,
off
right.
this year and
Oh, I
on
know, I
top
know.
of that, so.
Yeah, but the
Yeah.
gross dollar amount that you're applying that year. I don't know, that's close to thread the needle right there.
I,
I'll let the elementary technology number higher though, but I don't know what,
Okay,
Rob told me to do that.
and then we're, okay.
Make it 210,000, and still a little from the
Okay, so
minimum
down
free
to
cash
90,000.
position. I mean, at the level of a couple $1,000s.
yeah.
That
Yeah, I
just
agree with
doesn't matter.
Free cash.
Plus or minus, yeah.
This one doesn't come on, you know.
That number
Minus.
we don't have to vote on exact, it's
It'll
just gonna
calculate
fall
itself.
out in the wash.
Yeah, I know one, you said, no, one said you. Over.
They just, so that, this just.
We're at that point right there, the free cash is a little less than it was last year, but better than it was.
Yeah, and last week we were kind of guessing around the 200 number anyway, right? Like, it's just more than that, but I don't know how you make it work.
Yeah, I mean, we'd all like more.
It would have to be OPEB or have to be these things that we can't,
Or you wouldn't do the security systems.
we want the security system, but they want the security system, so.
And I think in fairness, reducing
That
the debt bump,
We told people we would,
yeah,
we told you.
to the extent we could.
to the extent we could, but, I mean, it's a very high free cash number we started with, so to not do any with that much free cash.
Yeah.
would be prudent.
But we are making a dent in our OPEB, which gets us a better target number for OPEB
That,
too.
yes, makes a big difference on
Whatever you call
the present value.
So you leave for motion?
it. Well, I think we've got a couple different articles,
No, no,
and so
I understand, so I was gonna.
So it's minimum free cash, you get what?
890.
So wait, so we add,
That's the 6,000. I forget what the number was.
600.
I forget what the.
yeah,
Well,
I'll
Six or
I'm gonna sync them up now, but they were green.
You want to motion Article 21st?
Let's see, elementary security, elementary technology
That's Article 21st.
is Article 21st.
I recommend positive action on 210,000.
Second.
Article 21st.
figure out a way to get this in the base budget, so there's budget every year with elementary schools. I think we have to figure out private funding, so there's dollar for the technology every single year. We want that number to be higher, but I don't know where else we can.
So there's an opportunity for fundraising
Yes.
and feeding it into the base budget in a year where we can do that. Okay, so.
I'm
John
personally
moved.
making a large donation. So,
Thank you. Any further discussion of Article 21st? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Positive. Now, Article 22nd, which is the Steward Security Surveillance System.
make a positive recommendation on Article 22nd for $85,000 for the Stewart Elementary School security system.
Second.
Discussion on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Opposed? Abstained? Okay, and that just leaves us with Article 37, free cash to offset,
Okay.
offset the taxes.
All right, what's the minimum free cash position you want to keep?
I think we just vote the 500,000
Okay.
and then minimum
Gotcha,
free cash
gotcha,
will
okay.
be
That's all.
892,000, whatever.
Okay.
How much are you bringing out of free cash?
Okay, so, I'm just, let me, yeah, clarify on this one, no, it's fine, I'm just.
Like,
Just finishing it to make sure that all of a sudden we didn't end up
Right, right,
yeah.
with 600,000 remaining free cash.
Just okay.
One oh one seventy, 101, 178, are we there?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh,
So that works, right?
yeah.
I'll entertain a motion for Article 37, free cash to reduce the tax levy by $500,000.
So moved.
You're cheating?
No. Is there a second? Positive action? Dana? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Okay. And just to be really sure that we've got everything and we've got positive actions, you know, I know that we made motions on dollar amounts just to make really sure that it's positive action as in the March 25th warrant. Somebody would offer a blanket kind of motion, positive action, articles 2nd through 22nd, because we voted all of them individually at dollar amounts. But just to be sure, we've got a real positive recommendation.
So moved.
Okay, so that's Article 2nd to 22nd. Confirm positive motion.
So something like if we
Positive
made,
action.
if we made a clerical error on that vote.
Yeah.
I'll second. Just remember to hold the town hall to the registration.
Yeah, we do. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And we have a recommendation of no action on Article 23rd, the library repairs. And I think that really was,
Yeah. But I think we'll hold that for now.
yeah,
Yeah.
that may be superseded. And then,
Although we don't know where we're gonna come up with 21,000.
Well, we should at least fix the roof.
We don't have it. We just have it.
Yeah, that's the
The
point.
roof has to get fixed.
yeah,
The rules are up, so they go through, so if they don't have it.
Well,
Revote some.
take $10,000 off or something.
Wait. If we reduce the tax levy by 490.
Yeah,
here.
Right, but
So there's a chance on that, from what I heard in David's email, what I heard tonight, that they'll give that reasonable consideration. They'll give that strong consideration, and there is some leaning towards funding at least part of that.
Of the total 21 fund.
Yeah, I think there's a piece, it sounded like the roofs, maybe he had reservations on.
Right, the roofs and the mold remediation.
The roof
Yeah, but the mold
remediation
remediation
is
is
not-
not there.
Okay.
It's just a roof.
The roof and the.
So that's an interesting thing, because they actually did that mold remediation, I believe. And with the understanding was they get paid for it, so I don't know where that has fallen out.
okay.
Yeah, but I think there seems to be some strong disagreement on opinions from a legal perspective. So I don't know what that will go.
Yeah.
I don't think that's an issue for this.
I suspect Steve Curtis is looking to solve in the next month and a half.
Correct.
Well, the library trustees will meet on April 9th. Sounds like the trust fund commissioners will go. We'll see where it gets to.
So the
And there might be
communication
something
between
the
those
county
two
wants
bodies,
to-
right?
I'm sorry?
So the communications on the ask weren't ideal either, causing some of
No.
the.
Yeah.
From every correspondence I've seen, I think David stated it correctly, that there needs no written communications to make requests.
Yeah.
I would think that the best way to do it, so you don't have any lack of clarity.
Yeah, you just
is
write
in
a letter.
writing,
A
we
formal
request X
request.
approval for X amount.
With the writing of exactly what it is, right?
Yeah.
For these things. and see
So that's what I
what-
will encourage the trustees, the library to do. We'll get an answer from commissioners. And then go from there.
Okay.
You're right, I don't think that's getting solved before this town meeting.
Well, we'll find out. I'll entertain a motion for positive action on the recommendations as written in the warrant articles 24th through 27th, which is
General
stabilization,
stabilization,
capital
capital.
stabilization,
Yep.
OPEB,
And
and
revolving funds.
town hall revolving.
So moved.
Second. I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 28th, 29th are pending, 30th through 32nd. Entertain a recommendation of positive action on those, as written in the May 25th warrant.
Well, we're still waiting for 30.
No,
Double-
no,
We'll deal with
the
it.
number have shifted
Oh,
because,
I got you.
Yeah.
something got
We're
inserted.
Oh,
in
it was-
We're not
Right,
at the
did we-
citizen's petition.
Did we end up voting for commission on disabilities?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we did.
Yeah,
I thought it-
319.
Okay, oh, that's right, that's right, we voted and I said, we said we're gonna go research it and could always we voted.
We voted, yeah.
Okay.
So, motion for positive action on 30th through 32nd.
So moved.
Thank you, Dave. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Okay, 33rd, 34th, 35th are pending, just 36th, just confirm recommendation of positive action on 36th. We already did 37, 10 minutes ago. Some-
Move for positive action on the return of $405,109 of use tax levy.
Second.
All in
Chase,
favor?
second.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, that closes out the annual town meeting warrant. Kelly downstairs?
She basically downstairs,
Yeah. Because she's,
Not gonna come up?
well, she's gonna need these, and I don't know if she's staying tonight or, go for it. Special town meeting. There are a few articles.
Thank you. Is this one from this afternoon?
This is, I think, like hot off the press.
Oh,
Okay.
Article Article second and third, typically on this is recommendation pending while everything's ironed out.
We'll do that last minute, right?
Yeah. And all of these are funded from turnbacks.
Oh, boy.
It's a little different from the one I had sent from, I think, Friday, because there's an Article 10th added. The PEG costs need an extra $400.
Well, you got the security, you have the security system. And the
Yeah.
prison and
Okay, yeah. But there is $400 from PEG that you can't transfer PEG costs from any other turnback. It has to actually be done.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So Article 4th is the compensation study that we had discussed, getting a new look at how we're doing.
Can I start now?
Sure.
My fear with this is that I think when we spoke to it, the purpose of what we were raising was misunderstood or not directed, and I'm very fearful that this is going to be how do we match up to our peers, as opposed to what I think we need to do, which is understand what our annual raises have been in the net to the town, and to understand that our peers may or may not be doing something similar. It's informative, but we've got to have a conversation simply within our own town about what we're paying.
Right.
So-
But we also have to talk about ways that we could be fair to people and yet still be fair to the dollars, whether it's changing the higher steps or you don't get a step every year once you get beyond midpoint or.
Oh, agreed. My feeling coming out of that and the way that the language was presented and discussed was that it was going to be, the result of this was going to be simply what are our salaries and what are our neighbors' salaries?
Well,
And that's,
so weird. Did this come from the meeting that we
Yes.
had?
Yeah.
Okay. This is not what we asked for.
well, we asked for several different things, one of which you probably don't need a consultant for,
Right,
because you can
right.
just go through things.
In my comments had nothing to do with hiring a consultant.
Right.
I said, look at the data, look at the steps, and do a forecast.
For
What
the
do you pay back?
people we have in seat.
yeah,
We
and
don't need to
historical.
spend $10,000 to do that.
For that, no, no.
And I don't know why we just finally settled from the last compensation study. And I think you're right, I think it's gonna go out.
It's been 5 years.
Look at all the towns around us, the $10,000, include that we're understaffed because all our people are leaving, so therefore we have to do a study so we can increase.
I don't think our people are leaving.
I know they're not leaving,
Yeah.
being sarcastic.
Yeah, okay.
Why are we doing a compensation study?
It's been 5 years.
But what are you gonna get for 10,000?
Well,
Same thing we got last time.
to be
Every 3
perfectly
to
blunt,
5 years, you do one.
to be perfectly blunt, this came up, in my opinion, and I can say this with other people in the room as well, this came up because we were pushing on what the salaries have done year over year over year. And this was a slight bit of intentional or unintentional, or whatever, a slight bit of a refocusing of that conversation. And I'm concerned that it needs to be back to, first, let's understand and get an agreement where our salaries have gone year over year over year, to your point.
And where they're likely to go.
Yeah.
But also, what I had talked to Kelly about, just before we got involved in the whole budget thing, is there a way to be fair to people and not have that same lockstep grid that, for example, the educators do?
Well,
So,
And is there something clever that can be done, and that needs more, I think, than the capacity that we have.
So I
We can,
think-
we can do pending on this.
depending, but I kind of feel like we should do it in the town, and then we should ask the educators to start paying attention to their grades too. Well,
no,
you know,
agreed.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean-
no, I agree, but
Agreed,
having
yeah.
tried to negotiate a grid away, no, it doesn't.
So I know, I understand that, but,
Yeah,
you
Now,
know,
why, I don't understand why we're doing this study. Has anybody suggested that their employees are underpaid. Is that a driver behind it? I never heard that.
I think the concern, if you're saying that you're going to give raises to people every year, it's the grid moving plus a step on the grid, and the concern that that costs money. And, you know, until somebody pops out, it looks like a good increase. Is the grid in the right place? Maybe we don't have to do a cost of living adjustment for a year or two, if it turns out we're overpaying.
I think this is a defensive mechanism. I think this is to defend the existing status quo. And I think, at least my position, I think Jay's was, it wasn't an attack, we weren't looking for it to be defended. We were looking for more information about what does that look like on a sustainability basis to the point in time where the existing staff reaches top of the grid. And then what happens? And we know that's not reality because all forecasts are a point in time, but if you look at that, you can say, okay, if this goes and all these people stay for 20 years, there's going to be some relief.
What does it, sure.
The growth.
Yeah, no, real chart is what you're going to see.
Yeah.
And this is, to me, a defensive reaction to say, no, let me show you that, I say that respectfully, let me demonstrate that we're paying them fair amounts of money. I don't think we were questioning that. So we're spending $10,000 to prove something that nobody's questioning, unless somebody outside this committee is questioning that and needs that money spent.
Well,
I mean,
I think we could say no action, or we could go pending, just making the commitment among ourselves and working with Kelly or Catherine or whomever, once we're outside the pressures of getting ready for town meeting, going through and doing that analysis of where the town is and how it projects. And, you know, if it looks okay to us, you know, then next year we shouldn't also be questioning, do we have to adjust the grid? Are we falling behind other towns because we don't have the data?
Budget, operating budget referenced in this?
Because that's where they're pulling.
That's where the turnbacks
So
are
we'll
from.
take the turn back.
So to that end, I am what you're saying, I kind of don't agree. I think my point purpose is, I want to get us all in agreement, us and the town, and to your point, the elementary schools in Masco, and everybody in agreement on what each of the individual constituents, non-union town, union town, Masco, and elementary schools, what they're seeing for raises, net personnel increases, person by, not individual by individual, but exclusive of any growth in headcount.
Right, for the people
so
who haven't
for the
seen
people
that,
in seats,
project them.
and as they leave, take the saves of them leaving and a cheaper resource coming in, a less expensive resource coming in. Account for that save, because that's part of your justification. But the most important thing is, I think, is that we all get to an agreement on the numbers that we're all looking at. And I think that's where, to your point as well, I think we're in agreement here. That's the first priority.
So Mike, I think some of this was triggered, you were asking some questions about fair pay levels and do we need all these steps?
Right.
So is it your view that we need a study to examine that? Because that's fair, right? If that's your
Yeah,
view.
so no, it's not like you. I think we don't have, we don't have big turnover. And we can move that COLA number around and I think the steps in the COLA are high.
I don't think,
And they're too high.
I don't think we could change
Yeah,
that.
the steps are the steps, so
The steps, yeah, but the COLA you can change.
But that's what's driving
Yeah.
the ask for the study, is if you think that the steps are inappropriate. The study will
Well,
tell you
what
the
I would
steps
like
are-
to do is have a discussion before the budgets come out next year. And so, because what happened is, last year we said, we want to talk about this, we said it in May, we said it in June, and then.
And then we got wrapped up in
and we got
policy
wrapped up.
guidelines.
Right, and so I want to avoid, like, once the budgets come out, now you've got a morale problem if you're pulling it back.
If we question the grid,
Mhm.
forget the COLAs for a second.
Right.
Question the grid,
Yep.
and we vote no action on this, and that succeeds, they rightfully will come back next year and say, well, we want to do a study to verify that, and the finance committee voted no action, the town agreed with it, and we should have done that study. So if we're gonna question the grid, I think we have to do this. The COLA should be pretty easy to define based on the economy and what the cost of living is. The cost of living is the cost of living.
Except what you gotta think about to that point is, and it is part of the whole, it is the challenge of it. To your point, I agree with the study analysis, your perspective on the study. Ultimately, the net is a person, an individual, up to a point gets a 4.5% or 5% raise on certain years because.
In the non-resident.
But you have to, because the net is the expense out the door for the town.
You have to, but when you think about it, the grid, we've already agreed to. And if we don't do a study, we can't argue that. The COLA,
Correct.
that's the way the relationships are set with the unionized teams.
And that's how,
And we treat town differently, that's a fair question.
That's perfect, you're absolutely right
Yeah.
with that.
Two pieces, so we accept the grid, and we probably don't need to do this. If we're gonna question the grid, we need to do this.
Well, I would even, before I can accept the grid and the associated COLA, I need to understand what the actual net result is of that. And I think our first, over time. Yeah, oh, absolutely agree. But I think if there was no, if time wasn't, if we could do this all in no time.
Well, this is for next year.
Yeah, but I honestly think the first thing we have to do is get to agreement on what the actual numbers
Isn't
are.
the COLA in the contract, the union contract?
Not every 3 years.
I understand that, so what I'm saying, today,
Yeah.
but to Mike's point, if we had a time machine and we went back to October, it's, the elementary and Masco,
And the police
and
and
the
the
police and the
fire.
fire were already per a contract that was in place.
But police and fire do not in general have steps. They have promotion opportunities,
Right.
but
Yeah.
they do not have steps.
But my point is, just on the
Elementary and
COLA,
Masco does
my
have
point
steps.
is that we've been talking about it every year, but it doesn't get affected every year because there's not a centralized decision to it's in all these individual silos, and this body doesn't get to negotiate any
Well,
of those.
but I think to that point, the only thing we can do is get to the numbers and put the numbers out there, right? So that the Board of Selectmen, the school committees can and the town can have those and see and understand. And that, to what you're saying here, that has to be a commitment, and I mean, I'll sign up for some of that. That has to be a commitment this summer, in effect.
And you also have to think, and it came up in school negotiations, you got people who were topped out.
Yeah.
And negotiating a zero was really hard because the people who were topped out got nothing.
Yeah.
The people who weren't topped out, they got their 4% steps, and if they moved over a level in education, they got 2.5%, 3%.
That's where the steps, the level bites the other way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, to the extent that people end up topping out, then you need to be giving a COLA to be fair, but for the people who are still moving on the grid, they see a larger increase. And once somebody leaves off the top, yeah, you hire them low, but then,
They step up.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
The creator of what we like.
yeah,
Yeah.
trying to think creatively about, can you do something funky with the non-union grid? I don't think you can shift the
No.
step and level percentages in the school grids, because that's, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
No,
I mean,
yeah, it gave me shingles, I know.
So,
you
we
can't-
understand that and respect that, but what that tells us is that, and we don't know the numbers yet, we need to see the numbers. But if what we're seeing recently is true, that means we've signed ourselves up for 4% and 5% salary raises on our employment cost increases year over year over year.
To the extent that nobody tops out, but people are starting to top out, so
Hence the need to want to see the
they
projection.
need to look
Right,
at it,
right,
which
right.
means a commitment on somebody's part, and I think Shay just volunteered, to
Somebody
at least
help.
for,
He's gonna
at
be
least,
skiing.
No, summer.
it's summer.
I committed during the
Skiing on
summer.
What do you
grass.
do during the summer? Mountain
Mountain
climb,
bike.
swim? what?
The climb, yeah, I do climb, but mountain bike.
You know, it's, at least for the non-represented personnel, you can do that. I don't know if the schools do the same kind of projection, and, you know, that's something that you guys worry about when you do your negotiations, but.
So I guess I've said two different things. And think if this committee is going to ask questions about the validity of the step raises, I think it's appropriate to fund this.
Mhm.
And if we accept the fact, and I'm not optimistic that it's going to tell us anything about that.
Or figure out
Yeah,
some
I don't
clever
know
way to
how
mitigate
informative
it.
this is.
It's a benchmarking exercise.
Right, but you know, if we have that dialogue and question if there are opportunities there and we can do this, I'm not convinced there are. But that's both sides of the argument,
Yeah.
right?
So I think there's a general agreement with what you're saying. It's just, to me, my thought is, it's just, there's an order of necessary events. And the first thing is get agreement on numbers. Then the second thing is, based on that, get informed assessments of what we are to the other areas and to what the grid is. But, you know, if the assessment of those numbers is, yeah, it's been doing this, but it's now gonna do this, because everyone's starting to top out, and that actually is what the layout is, we don't have a problem anymore, right?
Do you want to do it in the next year, or do you want to put it off for 18 months? So if we don't vote for this, it delays it 18 months.
Right. We all have to agree, okay, we've accepted the grid the way it is for the next year, and we're understanding where we are and how it projects.
I'll change that a little personally. My vote no would be because I don't think that doing this exercise now will attain the result I'm hoping to attain, which isn't one way or the other, but a clarity.
What's the actionable item that comes out of this?
The way I read it, to you, it's a valid point. I mean, to me, my assumption is that they come back and say, okay, Topsfield employees are in the X percentile of the town's comparable towns.
For the town manager to decide how to
Right.
handle that, it's not my job to determine that.
But, okay, so we can, you know,
Well-
we could get out is what should the COLA be, you know, besides what we're looking at in terms of ways. to-
Besides what we know other groups in town get.
I do
So-
understand, but.
Yeah,
I
to that, I absolutely agree that the town employees should not be any different than Masco, school, non-union, or elementary. But to address this, we've got to look at all four of those constituencies and get that data as the first step.
I don't think you get any actionable item out of this,
In this study.
Okay.
not
Well-
from our perspective, right?
We can do recommendation pending,
Whose motion is it?
we can do no action. Might be mine because it's,
But I'm the cause of it. Sorry.
no,
I'm not
I-
the only one.
Are we going to sit here 9 months from now and ask questions about the reasonableness of the steps?
Yes, right, yes, I think. we
No,
should-
yes, we are. or-
I think,
No, that's a
I
question.
think we should be talking about what, this is, I think we should be talking about what our recommendation should be on the, you know, on the COLA next fall, before the budgets go out.
COLA, is supposed
Yeah.
All
to.
is different from steps.
Let's close the.
But for next year for the budget, it's the only COLA we can affect, is the
Right.
town employees.
Right.
Which means that means you think we should treat them differently than the other,
You gotta start somewhere.
Well, I think we.
it's a chicken and the egg.
Yeah.
I think we need
You're
commitment
talking-
from I think we need commitment from the Board of Selectmen, and before we start anything with the town employees, and anything that, we need commitment from the other, from the elected board. And it's not ours to do, it's ours to just offer a recommendation again, but the town,
I don't know teacher contracts, any teacher contracts anywhere in Commonwealth that don't have COLA.
oh, you can do zero, it's just good luck, it's hard.
Yeah,
But,
Um,
I mean,
I'm just saying, if there's
so are we,
8,200 communities, whatever the number is, how many of them have zero COLA or below 1%?
Well, why would you have a zero COLA? The cost of living does go up. It doesn't go up zero, even in this.
Went up 2.5% in Boston, Cambridge, and Eton last year.
Yeah, but it's, inflation's been hovering somewhere under 2%.
Yeah.
The
Boston,
Fed's
Cambridge,
target is a
maybe
2%
higher.
inflation level, and it hasn't got there. It hasn't.
I'm gonna move for no action on all of the four for the employee compensation study.
I will second.
All in favor?
So-
Discussion.
Yes, so if we do that, we just need to understand when we discuss it in the future with COLA and steps.
Two things.
Yeah.
Really clear what we're talking about.
And Shay's trying to get the blended average, what's the realized for no new people, what's the realized blended rate? And it's gonna be close to 5 or 6, like what happened historically?
4.5.
Four and a half, yeah, right now.
Maybe a little
but-
less.
It's been 4.8, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah, for town,
4.75,
Yeah, right.
but
for
it's
town.
starting
Town.
to,
You can't look at the 4.8, you gotta look at the two. numbers.
Yeah, I understand.
That's where we get in trouble.
Well,
That's a net effect.
well, so the problem is ultimately, you can only affect one of those two numbers, but you have to look at both. Because ultimately, that's the benefit to the employee is the net of those two numbers. And the cost to the taxpayers is the net of those two
But I
numbers.
can figure out the COLA by looking at this. I can't figure out what the steps should be relative to the market that we're in
Yeah.
without doing this.
Right, and if you do that, it's gonna come back at what it is or higher, and it's not like you're gonna make any changes as a result of it.
Or it could come back lower, I mean, because the market
What are
has.
you gonna do? Go tell Kelly to stop cutting people's pay?
No,
Yeah.
no, but
no,
it,
but you
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
but it could be to modify the steps, to say those are much higher when we agree to them than they would be today, and we should adjust those.
and we do vote a new personnel grid every
Yeah, I
so
don't know if that
often.
necessarily-
So we have
be a
this
fair
data from the
non-represented.
teacher contracts and the other contracts and those steps. We know what the market is.
Yeah, the teacher steps are much bigger than the non-representative steps. They are.
So
I agree that this article was put down as a reaction,
To-
not prompted because of a different reason. It was put down as a reaction to questions that came from this board that weren't driven towards what the outcome of this is looking to do.
So, we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor of no action?
Aye.
I
One,
Aye.
2, 3, 4,
Great.
5 aye, 6 aye, and I'll be a no. And there we go. And I'll talk to Kelly too, and say, look, okay, we're gonna commit to
Yeah.
understanding first.
You'll say you tried to convince us all, but you couldn't.
That's perfectly fine.
That's leadership, right?
But, and, I mean,
Yeah, no, and that the focus is a different question that maybe needs,
Right, we can
First
come
we
back
need
to
to
First
this.
is-
We can come back to this.
yeah.
If we
just-
feel
we
like we
just-
need to really legitimately.
We have to ask the right question when we're discussing this next year so that we don't get,
well,
In
how about
fairness-
this summer?
yeah, fine.
In fairness, that was a very emotionally driven meeting, and we walked away, I think, without the clarity we hoped to have, so. But that was my deal, yeah.
When you come right down to it, 1% on the non-represented people's like $10,000
Yeah,
or
it's not a
something.
lot.
It's, in the end, not a
So-
lot of money.
I'd rather give them the
So-
10% than the $10,000 for the study. How's that?
10,000. So a comment, just, I started that conversation because I did the analysis on the town. That was simply not because I thought that's where the problem was, but that was the one that was easy to get the numbers
Right.
and start.
Right.
It's not trying to pick on the town, it's not, but that's the
You were
first one we
simply
had.
stating an observation.
Right, and we need to do that same thing for the other areas.
We need to be able to have a dialogue.
Yeah.
We were just stating an
So,
observation.
chase the man. Okay.
What's for the mouth?
You can do it instead of sleeping. Article 5th, the police chief search process.
I don't think we really have much of a choice on this one, right?
It's what we did
I
for
think it's
fire.
appropriate.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's appropriate as well. Move for positive action on Article 5.
Second.
Discussion.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I mean, couldn't the selectmen just pick, I mean, why do we need to serve? Or why do we need to serve?
Couldn't you just pick Captain Hayward?
Yeah, I'm just sort of, you know.
Yeah, I called
You don't live in the
them.
corporate world, do you?
But, oh, I do live in the corporate world.
Yeah.
It's, you're very much
She's
higher
more
the guy you like, right?
No.
In the
Hire
corporate.
the most qualified.
Right, yeah, right,
Well,
but that's the hiring manager's choice.
Especially if you
Yeah.
end up with somebody internal,
need a
I
pool
think
of
it's,
candidates.
it legitimizes the person to have said, look, we did a fair
All right.
and, you know, a national search even,
We
if
did
you
it for the
will.
fire department, why wouldn't we do it for the police department?
I think
I
it
think
ends
it's
up
appropriate.
legitimizing.
Okay, I mean, I get it, I'm just sort of.
Yeah.
That's all.
If we didn't do
Necessary
it,
evils.
if we
Right.
didn't do it for the fire department, there would have been, what to pay as a result of it, so.
Yeah, so, especially where it's a contract position.
So, yeah, so I understand the optics on it, I'm just trying to
Save money.
You're asking a
save
question.
money.
Yeah, that's exactly.
It's $10,000 that will fall over to free cash.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Okay, there's a motion.
All right.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
Entertaining motion on
Article 6, the Proctor Elementary.
this. Positive action, 85,000 for Proctor security system.
Second. Nope, you didn't have anything on it.
More discussion?
No,
You have to do it because you're doing one already.
Yeah.
We're already
All in
pregnant.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Okay, Article 7, revoke the solid waste enterprise fund. Basically, there's no money in it, so any solid waste expenses we have.
Why are we
Just
getting
wanna-
rid of the fund, though? That's, I'm not understanding why we're getting rid of it.
I don't think I have any other question on meeting.
Vote for solid waste.
There's a new special town meeting.
No, I have it, but I'm not doing any of this.
Oh, well, this would be you.
That's what I was asking us.
Yeah,
So,
you want to do recommendation pending? I think it's just housekeeping.
No, I don't even have it anymore because we don't got the program.
That's why you have to resend it.
Yeah, so-
yeah.
What's the question, Lou? No, I was asking which one of the members of the finance committee was going to be presenting this article.
presenting.
Yeah. You are.
Oh, is that what you're asking?
Yeah. I can-
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, you are. It's Jordan.
It's a mass accepting,
Yeah, I was voluntold that one.
Yes. I love that term.
illegal.
I absolutely love
It's
that.
an illegal one, so.
All right, I move that we recommend positive action for the revocation of the vote taken on the Article 18 of the May 2nd, 2000 town meeting, accepting chapter 44, section 53.5 for creating a solid waste enterprise. Effective as of June 30th, 2019.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Incidentally, I guess I get Article 4, and Shay gets Article 5, for the police chief, and John gets Article 6. Lucas got Article 7. Article 8, rescind prior year fund authorization. This must also be reviewed since it's water.
Oh, yeah, I do have a, I recommend positive action, we recommend to town meeting for the town to vote to rescind $530,000 for $1.5 million borrowing authorization approved under Article 29 of the May 2nd, 2017 annual town meeting for the Prospect Street and River Road water main replacement project.
Second.
Discussion? Anything that wasn't borrowed is a fine thing. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Let's see, Article 9, road repairs to Prospect Street and River Road, please. Although it will turn into a highway.
I move that the finance committee vote to recommend that the town meeting vote to transfer appropriate sum of $300,000 from the water enterprise retained earnings to be expended by the board of selectmen with advice of the board of water commissioners to repair and or reconstruct areas of Prospect Street and River Road disrupted as part of the recent water main replacement project and previous water main breaks. And to authorize the board of selectmen with advice of the water commissioners to take any other actions to carry out the project.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
Many more of that to come.
Yeah. PEG access and cable related fund.
Okay.
This is, there's a little bit
Or-
extra cost more than was budgeted, and you have to do it within PEG funds. You can't just merely transfer from some other term back. I have that right, Catherine?
Yes.
There you go. I'll entertain a positive motion. I think that's what we probably need, unless somebody else wants it.
I'll offer the motion.
Somebody else want the screen time?
I think it's out of animals.
Right. Okay.
Okay, Jay,
Okay.
positive motion?
Positive motion. I was trying to do so moved, but recommend the town vote to transfer appropriate for and include the PEG existing cable related fund to the PEG and fund out of cable access services. Positive action recommended.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? Okay. Catherine, do you have all those, or do I need to make a cheat sheet for Kelly
I
to?
have them. Did you want to vote Article 2, the second?
No.
No?
No,
Okay.
we'll wait for Article 2nd and 3rd until
We're done.
later in April or even town meeting night, just to be sure.
Okay.
Now, that takes care of all the warrants. It's not even 10, quite. The FinCom letter,
Oh, right.
which has to go in the warrant, so I have to get it to Kelly in the next day or so. I tried to draft it with all
With all the red
the
numbers.
numbers, but Mike, if you can check and make sure I've got the percentages.
Okay.
There's an odd little dance here that talks about the annual town meeting increase. When you look at the total spending, it includes some of the special transfers, but those vary so widely year to year that we try to, down the bottom of, well,
Okay.
after the bullet points of notable items in Article 3rd budget, the recommended fiscal 2020 budget for annual town meeting, so you have to ignore all the special town meeting.
Right. Okay.
So I think I did it right,
Okay,
but,
I'll double check.
and actually, it's probably a little different now based on what we did over there.
So much you got to
Yeah.
And with all my sunrise pictures, things like that. Okay. What do you think about the content? I left a sentence in the bullets about the larger override request that the elementary school committee had in case there was some kind of tiered override or something, but that's not where we ended up. So I don't know what you think about including that, or just not.
I'm torn because,
Depends on how much you want to confuse people.
well, I don't know, so what the dialogue is that goes out for the next coming weeks.
Yeah, well, this is what's gonna be in everybody's warrant,
Right,
so
Right.
what, whatever people hear at a meeting, depends on how many people go to a meeting, or how many people pay attention to the moderator's forum, or,
What if we change the rules of the finance committee voted to approve an elementary school line item, but keep their comment with information? The elementary school had voted for.
Or had originally requested, well, they spill out. Yeah.
so the elementary school committee requested a larger override, blah, 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 in order to do that.
I mean, I think doing that helps get the override. I mean, saying, if someone sees 600,000 and understands that the schools asked for this, and we tried to get down to something else. The flip side of that is it does put the school committee into a little bit of a little bit lesser look at all they're asking for. I don't know.
Is the school going to
I
try to amend something here with $1 million? They can't, won't go out.
Well,
Yeah,
they
they
can
can,
amend it, but it
but-
won't be funded.
yeah, the ballots.
All stands.
The flip side is true, if town meeting voted 0, not our recommended amount, it
Right.
doesn't matter that it passes a ballot.
Right.
It doesn't matter?